Good evening and welcome to the Wednesday, December 8th, 2021 Board of Selectmen meeting.
Excuse me? It's not a Board of Selectmen meeting, it's a Board of Finance meeting.
All right.
I should say Board of Education, I've done that.
Take
It's
two.
the Board of Finance meeting.
Take two.
No.
No.
If all of you could please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Karen, our recording secretary.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
In accordance with the bylaws of the Board of Finance, the ex officio First Selectman chairs the meeting until the election of the chair. And due to a vacancy, the first order of business today is the appointment of a new member to fill a vacancy with Ann Pacello resigning to take the seat on the Board of Selectmen. So at this time, we'll entertain motions to fill the vacancy. Is there any nominations to appoint to fill the vacancy? Mr. Steele.
Yes, I would like to nominate Jay Ginsberg.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been seconded by Pete. Mrs. Rosa, are there any other nominations? Ms. Hall?
I would like to nominate Lauren McNamara.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it has been seconded. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, nominations are closed. We'll call for a vote. All those in favor of Mr. Jay Ginsberg signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. All those in favor of Lauren McNamara Fitzpatrick signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Nay.
Nay.
Nays. According to the hand show and voice vote, Ms. Fitzpatrick has been elected by a vote of 3-2 and will be sworn into the position. Thank you for Mr. Ginsberg for your interest, and I know you'll be serving us anyway on the zoning board, so thank you very much. Lauren, I can swear you in right now. I'm a justice of the peace, and I have the oath if you're ready to come over here. If you'll raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to faithfully discharge according to law your duties as a member of the East Lyme Board of Finance to the best of your ability, so help you God?
I do.
Congratulations. And your seat.
What is her name? You named her something other than what
Lauren.
she...
It's confusing. It's Lauren McNamara. I am married, but I haven't changed my name.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. That wasn't your fault.
Of course, that's not going to confuse anything either, right?
No.
Congratulations.
The next item will be the election of the chair of the Board of Finance. Are there any nominations?
I nominate Denise Hall for Chair of the Board of Finance.
Okay, is there a second to that
I'll
nomination?
second.
Not seconded by Mr. Maxfield. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Nominations are closed. All those in favor of Ms. Hall as the chair position signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Carried unanimously. It's your meeting. And congratulations.
Thank you.
Can we go home now?
Yeah, can we go home? No. So that's on. So next on the agenda is looking for nominations for vice chair for the committee.
I'd like to nominate John Birmingham.
Is there a second?
No, not a, I was going to do a different nomination.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
So, but we have a second. Second.
okay.
And are there any other nominations for chair?
Peter DeRosa for vice chair.
Is there a second?
Can I second myself?
Yeah.
Okay, second.
All right. So, are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? If not, we can call for the vote. All those in favor of Peter DeRosa for vice chair, please raise your hand. All those against, raise your hand. Okay, all those in favor of John Birmingham for vice chair, please raise your hand. All those against? So with that, John Birmingham will be the vice chair. I just want to point out that I'm very thankful that John is taking this position to be my vice chair. He's well known to everybody in the community, and I look forward to serving with him. So thank you very much. Next on the agenda is delegations. The Board of Finance recognizes the importance of and value of public comment on town issues and invites members of the public to express themselves on matters of community interest and specifically in regard to an item on this evening's agenda. In the interest of time, we request that speakers limit their comments to 5 minutes, and all speakers are asked to provide their name and address at the podium. Seeing as there's nobody in attendance, I think we can do away with that agenda item. Next is the approval of minutes, and I just wanted to point out, I know this being the new board and many of us not on the old board, just wanted to point out that Robert's Rules of Order does say that it should be noted that a member's absence from the meeting for which minutes are being approved does not prevent the member from participating in their correction or approval. In the same vein, a newly elected member may vote to approve minutes, and a member who is not present at a meeting has the right to move approval of the minutes of that meeting. When you vote to approve the minutes, you're expressing your confidence in the veracity of the secretary, the actions of your colleagues, and the correctness of the minutes preparation process. So you're not making a personal statement that you were there in the room. So with that, I'd like to ask, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I approve the minutes of the regular meeting on Wednesday, November 10th, 2021, in the Board of Finance.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Well, is there a question about, did we get the complete minutes? Is that? Just before we voted.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
didn't realize that's what you were talking.
Yeah.
Yes, so before the meeting, Mr. Maxfield indicated that he did not have all the pages from the minutes, and he actually went online and picked up the pages that were missing.
Okay.
And so when I reviewed your minutes, I did note that you did not have all of the pages from those minutes.
I don't know how Robert's Rules of Order addresses this. You know, that's, I just want to make sure we're,
Yeah. If you would like, we can postpone the vote until,
yeah, I'm just thinking just,
we could table or to later on in the meeting if you have a minute to review them at some point during executive session. We could do that as well.
okay.
Okay, so that will bring us to item 6 on the agenda, reports. The first selectman, Kevin Siri.
Thank you, and thank all of you for your continued service, many years, to the Board of Finance and several Board of Education and many other boards in town. And this being my first time here as first selectman, not just filling in for first selectman. Some good news, I've talked to the IT people, the Board of Selectmen and Board of Finance will be getting town email addresses, so now you'll have an actual email address. There is a cost of about $5 a month per email, but that's, you know.
Per email or per email address?
Email
per
address.
Okay.
Per email address.
Account.
Not
Yeah.
per email, no. Not per
I'd like to be
email
that
address.
provider.
So, I know that's been a source of concern, so probably by next week, those will all be available and we'll be in contact, and I'm sure from her office or someone will be in contact with the information for that. Moving on, we're going to form, with the American Rescue Funds, we're going to be forming a subcommittee at our first Board of Selectmen meeting next week. I've been talking with Stonington and Rob Rule in Waterford to see how they went, to see, see if we can use some of their ideas and move forward. And the thought would be, a member, and here again, I don't want to speak on behalf of the whole board, but a member from the Board of Selectmen, a member from the Board of Finance, possibly Main Street nonprofit, and then a member of the community, keep it to about 5 people and give them possibly, a 30-day, 60-day window to come back with some recommendations for the disbursement of funds. And here again, if something urgent came up, anytime we could always come forward with that. Moving on, we have 4 unions in the town, obviously separate from the Board of Ed. And as you might want to guess, all 4 contracts are up for negotiation this year. So we'll be undertaking that over the next several months and so forth like that. Hathaway Farms will be on our agenda for next week. We've had presentations in a couple locations, and we'll probably be moving that forward because I met with the land trust. If they don't have some type of indication, if DEEP doesn't have an indication that the town is at least looking forward to continuing the process, they can lose their $400,000. So we'll be discussing that and taking the next step to moving that project forward for consideration and investment will be heard by members of the town. As I mentioned prior to the start, we had a public safety building update today. We're looking at a full move-in date by mid-January, but it'll be phased in. The fire marshal can move in right now. Dispatch, we're probably looking at the second week of January. The dispatch computers are in place, and the connectivity has been made, so that's a big step right there. IT is working, and Star Computers, the chief are all working together to make sure everything's ready to go. It'll obviously be vested before we move over there. There'll be plenty of training and plenty of practice and exercise to make sure that the new systems are working. We're not moving anything from our current dispatch up there. Everything we have is new at dispatch and new dispatch. The only thing we might lose for a day is possibly channel 22 because that equipment has to be moved from one place to another. But if that's the case, we'll make sure everybody knows more in advance. The roof supplies are, we were told, already available, and the architect has said okay to the contractor's plan for installation. They made sure they had to review it and signed off on it as well. So that's where that stands right now. The police will be probably the last one moving in, and then shortly after that, prisoners will start coming over. So that will be the last thing. But we're having weekly meetings on Wednesday to go over the punch list. So punch list is getting shorter and shorter, and we're getting really close. So, and funding, we've got enough money for the project as it was good right now. I don't know if you saw, but Chief was on Channel 8 today, police, because they did a review of school safety and everything, and the chief was really impressive, talking about how we have a good mix of school security and a school resource officer that helps keep our schools as safe as possible. So it was a really good presentation by Chief Finkelstein. One other thing about finances, as you can probably guess, fuel prices are up for next year. Joe Bergaw has been watching very carefully. We were looking at about a 47% increase in our our gasoline and diesel fuel costs for next year, which equates to about $75,000. Last Friday was a tumultuous day in the market. The price dropped 17 cents a gallon, so Joe locked in that day, so we will save money. It'll still be an increase, but it won't be as significant as it would have been had we locked in earlier. Moving on to some better news, the light parade is this Saturday, weather permitting, at 6 p.m. There's no fireworks, but now everybody gets to vote as to what is the best float. You can go online, there's a little bit of, there's a sign right in front of Town Hall here that tells you how to be able to vote for your favorite float. So let's hope it goes on at 6 on Saturday. If it's rained out, it'll be 5 on Sunday. But that'll be posted on the town website, Parks and Rec, Public Safety, everything, if it has to be canceled, as soon as we know that. Town Hall has got a half day on the 23rd of December, and closed on the 24th. And some really good news. The Forever, have you heard of the Forever My Heart organization? Okay. It's rescue abandoned dogs. They get trained and they're given to disabled veterans. Haynes students did a walkathon on Veterans Day and raised over $3,000. So they're going to be allowed to name the next dog that gets trained. We're hoping for some media coverage on that this Friday at Haynes. So some really good news there, some uplifting news. Any questions?
The fuel increase, and then you said that it dropped, and he locked in the price. If the price continues to drop, are we locked in for the? We're locked in.
Yeah,
Okay.
And that's, you know, it wasn't just us. The region pretty much all decides it's time to.
It's time to lock it in. Okay.
Because you know, my son locked in on propane when he switched services last spring, and he locked in at $247. I said, oh, you're going to be paying a lot. The joke is, I mean,
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Okay. So the expectation is that what we have now is what we're going to get. Okay.
and here again, there's plenty of people advising that are in the consortium
Right.
that say, okay, it's time. And so.
Yes, Kevin. I know that we approved ARPA funds for virtual attendance at meetings, and I was wondering where we're standing on that.
Okay. I talked to Carmen about that today, and she's going to have an update for me tomorrow.
Oh,
Because I
okay.
know you had asked about the virtual, or the hybrid, really.
You're right.
One of the things, and I've talked to a couple other towns that have done this, what they recommend, though, is not having a board member operating the
Right.
screen, because you're allowing people into a meeting and you're doing too much. The school uses a student, so I was going to reach out to Jeff, or even possibly Three Rivers, to see if they have a communication student. Process a little, but you don't want, it's one thing just to switch from screen to screen here.
Right.
It's one thing if you're letting people in, we've seen what happens in some meetings when we've left the wrong person in.
Right.
Not too much for what they have to say, but the content of most of the program. So
Right.
it is something I talked to her about today, and I'll reach out to you as soon as I get it.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Just on that same vein, I actually think it would be nice if we could see if there was a student who wanted to operate this. I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but if you're trying to juggle your, what you're reading and everything else and pay attention, I think it would be a great opportunity for one of our students to learn more about government and use their.
Mrs. Hardy used to have one of her contemporary issue students do it, but that's been, since she's not there. But we could definitely, I'll reach out to Jeff for that as well. I think that's a good idea, because when I've run it sometimes, I've noticed we've been talking up there and the camera's for 5 minutes been on a vacant podium.
Yeah.
And it's not intended, but you're supposed to be concentrating on what we do.
Exactly. I think that'd be great.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions?
No.
All set. Thank you. Next, our Director of Finance, Anna Johnson.
Good evening. The first thing I would like to do is update the board on getting our audit completed. Unfortunately, we will not be getting it completed and filed by the end of December. I will be working with our auditors to get it filed by the end of February. In your packets, I had included some reports on the America Rescue Funds, and I thought it would be appropriate to have you take a look at the reports again, since there is an item on the agenda this evening dealing with an appropriation of those funds. So the first sheet is shows the different budget accounts, and the budget accounts have been set up by the dates of the appropriation, and you'll see we've made expenditures in some of them, some we have encumbrances, and the last appropriation from the December 1st meeting. I just set the account up. There have been no expenditures or encumbrances. And then there's a little summary sheet showing what we've received to date, the $2.7 million. We will be getting $5.4 million, and then again it lists all the different appropriations. And then another sheet that shows what the specific appropriations were and the different budget account assigned to them. Does anyone have any questions on the America Rescue Funds? And then the other reports are all related to the general fund. Each month I do, for the new members, each month I do a summary sheet and just give highlights of revenues, expenditures, year-to-date information, and do a comparison of where we are this year relative to last year. And then I also go through the month revenues and expenditures and highlight items that are greater than $10,000, just to kind of bring those items to the board's attention. I also provided you with a revenue account status through the end of November. And I mean, at this point, I think we're doing well. I don't know if anyone has any questions on any of the accounts.
I would just like to point out that I was pretty impressed with the conveyance taxes going through. We're at 90% of what we had budgeted for the year, at only 42% of the way through the year. So I know we try to be conservative with that, but even so, if that keeps up, that's going to be good news for us. So
Yes,
hard to predict, though, what's going to happen.
it is. And does anyone have any comments or questions on the expenditures?
Yeah, just, on this report.
Yes.
On page 8, you have the workers' comp and the health and dental at 97, 95%. Is that because the things are paid for the year, or?
That's because of the encumbrances. So if you look,
Okay.
there's a column budgeted,
Right.
and then the encumbrances.
Okay,
the
so it's
encumbrance-
committed, the money's committed, but.
Correct.
Okay, so
Correct.
not to worry.
Yes, yes.
That's, I just wanted to be sure.
Well, they're big numbers.
Yeah, that's why, I didn't circle the little numbers, I just circled the big numbers.
Right. Any other questions?
You go.
Okay, yeah, I just have one question going back to the audit. It just, is there the deadline is with there's a deadline with the state, isn't there? Is it end of December, or is it January? Do we have a deadline and we ask for an extension?
Ideally, we would file by the end of this month. That's correct, yes.
Okay, do we have to, or is it an automatic extension, or do we have to apply for it?
We have to submit the extension request to the state.
Okay. But we do think we're fine, we'll be able to get the auditors back and doing their field work and get done in time before they, because I know they're gonna be running off to their for-profit clients pretty soon.
Right, I have some committed dates for them to come in and keep moving on the work.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and then usually you have a report on the unassigned fund balance, the rainy day fund.
Yes,
And
that's correct.
I didn't see that this
No.
month.
Right, I didn't update the report. I will be sure and get that at your next meeting, but there's no, really no
big change.
significant change at this point.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Any other questions? Okay, so moving on to the next is the special appropriation for the Novatime Automated Time and Attendance System. Anna, do you want to take us through that as well?
Okay.
Anna and our HR director, Tracy, have been working on this quite hard. And I'll let Anna walk you through it because they made the presentation to me last week. And then, even prior to our last Board of Selectmen meeting with the former board, so I'll let Anna.
Thank you. So the request is for an automated time and attendance system. At this point, we're using a manual method of tracking time and attendance. We keep an Excel spreadsheet, and employees have to make their requests on 3-part carbon forms. And so, you know, the employee fills the form out, and then it has to come, and we have to verify the time, and then they have to get signed off on. And oftentimes, the employees do not complete the forms prior to taking their time off. So that's another issue. And it's actually time-consuming for, you know, payroll processing, supervisors, and employees as well. So we believe that getting an automated time and attendance system will allow employees to be responsible for tracking their time and allow supervisors to approve leave and attendance more efficiently. Then the data will be able to be uploaded from this system into our existing system as well as the new system that we're transitioning to. We went to three vendors to seek demonstrations, and we are recommending going with the Novatime Andrews technology system. We did take polls of various cities and towns throughout the state to see what systems they use, and it was interesting because Novatime was the #1 system. Our Public Works Director, Mr. Bergaw, is familiar with this system as he worked in another town that used it, and he speaks very highly of it. And also, Ms. Stevens at the Board of Ed is familiar with the Novatime system and speaks highly of it. And then with the automated system, we'll no longer need time cards because it's going to be done automatically. And then the other thing is the RFD cards that we would be using on these clocks, as well as, because you can either use like RFD cards and you can also use like key fobs. We will be able to use those on an automated door opening system within the town, because that's kind of something we've been talking about, is instead of having to open all the doors with keys, going to some kind of a keyless system. And so we've looked into that as well. So the total implementation cost is $67,392, which includes a fee for hosting up to 250 employees for 10 months of the year, and up to 300 employees for the 2 months that we employ the seasonal staff for Parks and Recreation. So that averages out to about 258 employees a month. Then we're purchasing badging in terminals, then a specific printer to do the badges, the HID cards, and then there's a fee for implementation and maintenance. The annual maintenance will thereafter be $25,822. If you look at the annual maintenance costs and the number of employees that will be using the system, that's like a cost of about $100 a year per employee. The other thing is, I kind of looked at the different employees throughout the town and how much time they're spending on the manual system, just to kind of quantify it in a way, if you will. So if we just look at the different supervisors that are reviewing the time cards, preparing the timesheet, and approving leave requests for all their employees, it actually worked out to be 1,040 hours a year. And if I look at the hourly rates of all those employees, that's a little over $52,000. So it's not that we would look to eliminate any of the employees, but when you look at that, it averaged out to be about 20 hours a week for each of the employees that do, you know, the time card review, the timesheet preparation. So that's like more time everyone would have every week. Not that it's not going to take any time to do it, but it's going to be more efficient and make everyone more efficient. And then there's time related to payroll processing, and then the manual record keeping as well that I didn't include there. So when I include all of that, it's a little, you know, it's what, about $95,000 in, you know, staff time just dealing with time and attendance. And then there are some costs, you know, for time cards that, you know, we use in the different, and then I also found that some departments actually make copies of all of them after they send them to us. So there, you know, that's additional time and, you know, all that paper that we keep using when we're looking to be more paperless, if you will. So. Right. Yes, I did. Yeah. So we, we'll be able to get it to integrate with the system we're currently using, and then it will integrate with the system that we're migrating to. We're currently working on the general ledger side, and then the payroll conversion will be at a later date.
So what you're saying, over time, it's going to save time and money in the long run, the new system?
In the long run, yes.
2 years.
Yeah. And one question on the maintenance fee, the $25,000. As time goes on, will that ever come down, or will it increase, stay the same? Or?
No, John.
We don't understand the words you just used.
Not these guys.
Yeah.
That's a gotcha.
Typically, your maintenance fees stay the same. For like you kind of lock into the level at where you did your implementation, and that's how those rates are established.
Okay, thank you.
A couple questions. You put in Tyler was the competitor bid?
Yes.
What was the final number on it?
That was like
15,
double
I
the
think.
cost.
Yeah, is that what the 124,000?
Yes.
Okay. Why did you even? I mean, okay, and then.
Well,
just-
because even the Nova time is, you know, it's pricey.
Yeah. Just to piggyback on what John was saying, the $25,000, is that a year-to-year contract? Every year it's up and they come back?
Well, I typically when you purchase software, you lock in at the rate in which you make the purchase.
Right, but does it go out for so many years or anything? Okay.
No, I believe so. Like typically, when you purchase software, the rate you're charged for your annual maintenance, you lock in at that rate.
Okay.
And our attorneys have reviewed the contract. Yeah.
On overtime, you know, I've had them look at so many contracts, but we do have them review contracts as to form before we have the first selectman sign.
Mm-hmm.
They have reviewed it for the ARP.
Yep, exactly. I was just going to point that out, that is our new standard of always getting legal opinion that it is appropriate use of funds. But, you know, I think going with a software that's used by a lot of towns makes sense because, you know, you want to make sure that they're continually updating as they go on. And if you're like the sole client, they may not be, you know, motivated to expend money on updates, whereas if they're serving a lot of municipal clients, then they've got a lot of clients that they have to make happy. So I think that's a good move. And I'm really happy to hear that we think it pretty much pays for itself with efficiencies, because as we look at the use of these funds, you know, we want to make sure that we don't end up using them and then the funds go away and we're stuck with a program or something that we don't have the source of revenue for. So I think it's great that we were able to identify how much this could save us year over year by taking that step to automate. So I think it's a great idea.
Well, what I have noticed in the town is, right, especially now we have the assessor out, for a while. Just the need for more work hours availability in the town. In HR, we've identified a lot of areas that need concern. This will free up a lot of those hours, because Anna has a lot of personnel that do this. So now we'll be able to cross-train a little bit more and some more availability to work, in multitask, so forth. So I think that's much preferable than having to add positions and floater positions if you have these people that are cross-trained and now have a little more time to help out.
Paul, do you have any questions?
Just one, I remember a few meetings ago, the HR director was here, and she was talking about, her challenges that she was having. This program will help to address some of those, or she was talking about
Yes.
efficiencies, or there's something that down the road maybe we could look at that would complement this or add on to it that would make, address those issues?
Yeah, well, the software, the Munis program that we're having does have, HR capabilities that will complement the time and attendance system that we're purchasing.
Just a couple questions, or a few. Was our IT department or Star Computers involved with any of this decision-making process?
We did not use Star Computers for this.
Oh, okay. But was our IT department involved at all?
Early
For
on when we
assessments?
were looking at this, we did reach out, and we talked about one thing that I did discuss with her, other types of time clocks that we're purchasing with this system, and she was pleased with the type of the clocks that they are.
Right. Oh, okay. And then you had mentioned about sometimes getting the leave requests put in and getting completed. Sometimes those aren't done until after the employee has already taken their leave. Is there anything that will be done differently to ensure that that will be addressed in the automated system? Because that's not necessarily a difference of manual versus automated. It's a difference in the training and the codification of what the employees are supposed to do.
Right. So what we will train the employees to do is, go into the system, log in, and you put, enter your requests, and then it's going to go and to your supervisor and get approved. And the system will not allow you to put the request in if you don't have the leave time available.
Oh, okay.
So one of the other pieces of this is we're hoping that this will also be an education process for employees to really pay more attention to the balances that they have, because believe it or not, we do have employees that put in to take leave time that they don't have. The leave time is noted on everyone's pay stub, so everyone should know what their balance is, but some don't.
Right, right. And then in regards to the key cards or the automated systems of entry to various buildings and such, I remember when Ann Chikello and I met with Chief Finkelstein over at the Public Safety Building on a walkthrough tour before it was at the stage it is now. And he had mentioned that they had a system that would enable that. Is there going to be any redundancy between this key carding and that? Is it an additional component that we have to purchase within this system, or is it part of the standard system to have that key coding?
So in terms of, I know that when we started, okay, we're talking about the time and attendance system, and it's like, oh, by the way, we want to look into being able to use the same media to enter in a keyless way we did have conversations with the chief, and as to whether or not we're gonna be using the same system for our doors, I don't have an answer to that question.
Oh, okay.
But I can certainly, you know, next time I discuss the issue with Mr. Bergaw, we can talk about that.
Okay, appreciate it, because I'd hate to see us pay twice for something that we already have the capability of.
Well, I think as I understand it, it's like at your location, whatever it is that's used to make the doors like open with you know, keyless, they install a device
A card
by
reader.
the doors
Yeah.
to make it work. So it's, you know, we'd still have to purchase the various pieces of hardware for all the doors that we would want to use the keyless entry on.
Right, but in terms of redundancy of software systems,
We can check on that, yes.
Oh, okay. Okay. And then, is this a time-critical contract that needs to be implemented? I'm
So-
just wondering.
Right, so
yeah.
at this point, the reason we're bringing it forward now, we had really wanted to try to bring it forward with the last group that came to the boards. However, it just took us more time to be able to look at all the demos and get, you know, get everything to come to the boards. And there would be a price increase after the end of the year. So that's what the time critical sensitive issue at this point in time is.
Okay. And then the importance of coordinating, or of having a system that, it almost sounded from the write-up like it would coordinate with other towns, but is it more that it's just that it's a system that's utilized by other towns?
A system that's utilized by other towns.
Oh, okay. Okay. And to our chair's comments, that makes perfect sense, because if the vendors got more vested, then you're going to get better service and probably better rates as well.
Well, that's one of the issues that the existing accounting software that we have, it's a company in another state, and they tend to cater to more to you know, their clients in their own state, because there's a larger number of them. You know, scattered throughout other states are few and far between. So you know, we find that to be an issue with them. So that does give a level of comfort to have you know, more.
Okay. And then last question, sorry for all the questions. That annual maintenance fee, do you have a sense as to whether for this next year of maintenance, whether that would be ARPA available, or would that just need to come out of our regular town general budget?
That would have to go through the budget. However, we're doing, since due to the timing of when we would be signing the contract, the next maintenance would be due, that we would need to pay would be in January of 2023. So what I'm, you know, like, I'm going to discuss it with the vendor and say, so when our maintenance comes up in January of 23, do it 50% for the, you know, like January through June, and so that the first year that we have to budget for it, it's a half a year, and then in the following year, of course, we would have to budget the full year.
Is there any possibility that they could front load the second year to have it all come under the ARPA funds?
You know what, you know, I don't have an answer to that
Oh, okay.
question.
Okay, just a thought.
That'd be, yeah.
I think that the intent of the ARPA funds is not to use it for operating costs. And in theory, once you get beyond, you know, your initial implementation
Right.
period, you're looking at it being more an operating expense. So I'm not sure that would be considered eligible.
Okay.
But it's still, you know, it's still worth discussing.
Yeah, I just remember from some of the police software contracts, especially for the body cams
the
and
body
stuff,
cameras.
they had things front loaded. Now, those weren't subject to ARPA funds, those were out of our funds, but
Correct.
still, just worth exploring.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. We may also just want to, typically a maintenance contract may have an increase tied to CPI or something like that, but I've also seen them where the maintenance is fixed for a 5-year period, and then after that increases with CPI, but that might be a negotiation we could have as well.
One thing that Anna left out is, and when she is also space storage. If you go down to our vaults, we have boxes and boxes of triplicates, time cards, and and here again, space is at a premium here, so every little bit here helps us out quite a bit from this type of a program. That's it.
So is there any other discussion on? Would anyone like to make a motion?
I will. Move to approve a special appropriation in the amount of $67,393 for the purchase, installation, and implementation of the NovaTime (Andrews Technology) time and attendance system. Source of funding being the American Rescue Program funds. Note, a town meeting is required.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And
Abstention.
any abstentions?
I'll abstain.
Okay. The motion carries 5-0-1.
Just note that is subject to town meeting.
Yes, so,
Okay.
yes.
Not worrying about the cameras too much.
Yes. So, and in regard to the cameras, I was just going to make a suggestion that we move the executive session all the way to the end before we adjourn. That way it'll be a quick on and off of cameras. And does anyone have an objection to moving executive session to the end? Okay. Then we'll go right to the Board of Finance members' discussion on the proposed budget process. Anna has included a very comprehensive timetable of the budget process. And
I got it in here.
That's it, so we can share.
Oh.
I just had it.
We're allowed to share across party lines.
so I will say this will be my first time through this budget process, not my first time through a municipal budget process, but so I would kind of look to some of our members that have been through this before. Does this sound like a doable?
Arduous is the word that we tend to use. Yes.
That's where the virtual meetings really came in handy.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
You get a cup of coffee in the middle of the meeting.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, this is pretty much on target with the late night meetings are in March.
Mm-hmm.
And, right, this is pretty much the same schedule. I
Yeah,
think that
it's
was the same schedule. It's,
I mean, obviously the town meeting and the budget are set in stone. We can't do anything with those. But
one of the things that the former chair was doing was playing around with the scheduling of the department presentations to be sensitive to the time requirements, because we were going to 1 o'clock in the morning. And so whether we had multiple meetings per week or we spread them out a little further, but that was just something that,
Okay.
that
So it
that
sounds like.
there's some discretion in there, and it's built in here
Yep.
too.
So we'll make sure we try to make it so that no one's staying up late and not making great decisions.
No one staying up late, I don't think is realistic, but how we structure that, I think is we've played different,
Yeah.
we've done different schedules, and that's all. So
Fine.
that's really the only. That's everything else is pretty much
Okay.
cut and dry.
Sounds good. Does anyone have any other comments on this?
Well, as we move into the budget process, Rich and Peter, in the past, not every department has come before us, or needed to.
Needed to, right.
So
Right.
you might, as we move on, you might think about who you guys and myself think
Right.
should not be coming before
Well, we'll
us.
see the budget, and then
Yeah.
if we don't have questions or it's pretty standard, we
Right.
can eliminate that. Yeah, that's
Right.
where
Yeah,
the
the
part of the
scheduling
discussion,
is
yeah.
important, yeah.
And then there's certain ones that we want to we want
The big
to
ones.
question.
Okay.
But yeah, that's a good point too. So we have some flexibility with that, I think is
Right.
the point that I was
Yeah.
trying to make, so that,
Yeah. We've just reviewed the town clerk and a couple others, and never hear from you.
Yeah. Okay.
camera's on, right? It's like,
Yeah. So, any more discussion on the process? No? Okay.
see, it ends.
And then we have
Yeah.
the bylaws, the Board of Finance bylaws, and from what I understand, the only change to the bylaws that was made, in the recent past was the new member orientation. I know we, received all of this when I came on board. So and we'll make sure that Lauren gets all of those. And then there's also the question of arranging mentorship for new members. So I think that the new members are I think John's going to be spending a lot of time with Lauren and I and Paul. So I think.
I have a question for Anna. Number 3. In the past, the town charter, there was a booklet. Is that still available, or do you have to go online?
It's available here. I mean, it is in print, but it's online as well. But there's
Because
several
I know the
copies.
board members years ago, each one used to get a booklet.
Yeah, but, so now,
Gets revised.
It's easier to get it
we've
online.
migrated to having the charter online, and
Okay.
it's kind of like it's an ongoing, constant updating process. And so
How often is it updated?
as anything happens, it gets updated. So
Yeah, okay. But, I mean,
yeah.
minor changes from year to year? or-
Like, you can't change the charter, but you,
I know, but that's going to be coming up.
well, I know, but that takes a year from the time it starts to
Yeah.
get adopted or reviewed anyway. But any ordinances and that would be updated on the, if there's any ordinance changes or anything like that, that would be updated online.
Okay.
Not so much in the printed copy, but definitely
Right.
online.
Okay.
So, I guess then the question is, does anyone have anything that they would like to change in the current bylaws? My only thought, just because I struggled with it a little bit as I was reading it, was whether we might be able to just make the differentiation between delegations and public comments a little bit clearer. It seemed like they both kind of point out that they're not supposed to turn into a back and forth with a resident, but I think it could be a little bit clearer that perhaps in delegations, the purpose was to have it be something that was pertaining to this night's agenda, and maybe public comment is supposed to be anything that might come before the Board of Finance. For me, I was a little bit unsure of what differentiated the two aspects of the agenda. I didn't know whether anybody else felt that way, and it was just me, or whether you think we could just tighten that language up a little. Not a big difference, but maybe a little bit clearer for
Yeah, I think that's a good
resident.
idea.
To look at the language a little
Okay.
bit.
Yeah, I agree. From other boards and commissions, it seems as though they have similar kind of fuzzy phraseology to put it. So I think it is worth tightening up,
Yeah.
as you mentioned,
It might be clearer to a resident trying to figure out.
which
When-
part that they want to
yeah.
attend.
Well, I'm happy to, write up a suggested change and share it with the board. And if we have agreement, look to adopt an updated next time around.
Yeah, so the way it works is, so say like at your next meeting, you bring forward the language, so you would read it at the meeting, and then it works that you would approve it actually at your
Yep.
next meeting, okay?
Yes, I just meant get anybody's input in case they wanted to change it
Exactly.
before. we got to the,
Yeah, and then the only other thing that when I read through them that I could think that the board might want to consider addressing is if we wanted to include any language that dealt with having hybrid meetings.
mhm.
We don't know
Very
when
good.
that's gonna, the exact date that it's gonna take off, but if you're gonna be redoing them, it might make sense to, you know, put that language in
Mhm.
there.
Okay.
And to that regard, a lot of times the public during the hybrid meetings doesn't know how to communicate during the discussion period. I've seen that in various meetings through town. And so maybe if there could be even some directions as to how the public could participate during a hybrid meeting. I don't know if that's overkill or not, but just to make it easy.
Probably wouldn't be too difficult, Rich, because I'm sure, you know, we obviously we borrow from other towns that have already implemented that,
Mhm.
because I know in the larger cities that's been active for quite a while, so
Right.
definitely worth looking into. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any more comments or on,
So we're not voting on this, or? No?
I think what we should do is wait and vote after,
Mhm.
you know.
Okay.
So if the discussion is, yes, we'd like to make a couple of changes, and then we can vote on them after we propose those changes.
Okay.
All good? Okay, so now, would like to, make a motion that we move into executive session for personnel issues.
To include the finance director.
Yes.
I'll second.
What about old business and other stuff, no?
Um,
Go through that first?
Oh, we can,
There is
but,
none, if
yeah,
there's nothing.
yes, okay.
It's easier and then I can leave.
Oh, all right, perfect.
We're not
No,
making a motion after we get out of executive.
No,
session.
that
There
sounds
probably will
good.
be a motion, but we can let you know what that is tomorrow.
Yeah,
We can just have, John's the vice chair, he can write down the information and let you know what it is.
Well, Denise can too.
Yeah, I'm just trying to make you be able to go home early, Tara.
okay,
Well, I'm just saying, usually we try to do
I
that
know.
with
Yeah.
water and
You're right.
sewer, so that.
okay, so is there any old business? No?
Right on here.
And we have no public here for public discussion?
Get used to that.
Yeah.
It's always
And would anybody on the board like to make any comments?
Yeah, I just, I'm just humbled to be here, and I'm looking forward to working with everybody here over the next few years.
Welcome the new members.
I'd also like to thank the board for the opportunity to engage with each of you. I'm excited to learn from each of you and serve East Lyme. So, thank you.
And welcome aboard.
Well,
Yes. I'd like to applaud Kevin for moving forward with creating a subcommittee for the ARPA funding so that we can gather public input and have as many parties that want to be heard, and that we get a strategic plan for spending the ARPA funds. That was something that we've desired, and I'm glad that we're moving ahead on that. And then just something that, going through the ARPA list and recalling with my memory, I'm not sure if this was approached for ARPA funding this last year or not, but the East Lyme Land Trust, I believe, had asked for some money for maintenance of the boardwalk, and I'm not sure where that ended up.
Okay, that, in fact, I talked to Dave Putnam about that last week. We still have some money left in that FEMA disbursement, so that's where the plan was to get the
okay.
money out that. Dave is gonna come up and he's gonna he probably after the winter, but he's gonna try and get professionals to come in. He said his people can do it, but you want this done with a warranty, and we have the resources, so that's where that money was planning on coming from, probably in the springtime.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. And also, I'd like to welcome the new board members and congratulate the new chair and vice chair. I think this will be a very productive board that we've got. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, personally, I would just like to say I'm very happy to be here in East Lyme and humbled to have been elected, and not only to the Board of Finance, but as the chair of the board. And I look forward to working with each and every one of you, and know that we're going to have a great few years here working together. And I appreciate all of your help. I will point out that while I've served for 8 years on a town council in a much larger town, I never had the opportunity to chair, always being in the minority. So I'm a little bit new in the chair role, but I'm looking forward to taking on this role. So thank you, everyone. I appreciate it. Any other comments? Okay, now we are ready to go into executive session. And if we have a motion, Karen will let you know about it if you wanted to.
Okay, we need a motion to go
Yes.
into executive.
Move to go into executive session with the finance director.
Second.
Inviting Deanna Johnson.
I get
Yes.
the ex officio automatically gets
Yeah.
to come in.
Who did it, Paul?
Yes.
Yes, Paul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, if we're in executive session.
Now we get to.
And we're just going into executive session, literally.
What's your cell
860-287-3456.
All right.
Do you have mine?
I don't.
867.
And so now
No, we're not.
We're done
we're still
recording.
on air,
So we have to
so.
go to the live stream.
So it's time
Well,
moves
we're
on.
not, we're just gonna
Please
get out
sign.
of break. We're not coming
I
back.
can email you a copy.
Denise for myself, but even
But
Deanna.
that's,
Who's doing the mics up here?
There you go, now you know.
Okay. I'm a rookie, so.
I'm glad it's you, not me.
You need to, yeah.
Doing a good job.
Someone needs to move to add an agenda item, and it could be under new business, 7E, appropriation,
Okay, so this is the Board of Finance meeting of December 8th that is now coming out of executive session. So we are looking for a motion to add an item to the agenda in regard to an appropriation. Do I have a motion?
So moved?
Second?
Second.
All those in favor of adding item 7E, appropriation, to the agenda? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No? All carries. Okay, E. John, would you like to make a motion for the special appropriation?
What's the amount? Yeah, 41,164. 4,164.
Yeah.
Move to approve a special appropriation and a transfer in the amount of $4,164 from account number 01-01-120-200-500, parentheses contingency to account number 01-01-106-100-211, parentheses HR manager.
Is there a second?
I'll
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstains? The motion carries. 600. Okay. So, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so we're going to live
Thank you.
stream stuff.